Chase, can you see my screen right now? Is that happening?
I can see your beautiful face and your shirt saying it's always hard in
Ooh,
starting strength.
nice. Perfect. I really think they should keep. I think these are a limited run shirt. They should not be a limited run.
Yeah, I like
I
those.
think personally, this should just be. This should continue to be the name and face of
I'm
starting
glad
strength.
that
I don't know why they would ever.
Grant Brogy made this shirt. So it's Camp Ripito. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can see that. It's for like the seminar people. So like the staff on the back says counselor and shit like that. So
Oh,
it's
nice. That's really
pretty
cute. I like
cute.
that a
It is
lot.
very cute.
Okay. Yeah. I think starting strength should try to be as cute as possible.
Yeah, just start branching out.
Start branching out. But yeah, so whenever I saw the always hard shirts, I bought 3 for myself because I was like, I'm gonna burn through these things. Okay. I was
Oh
like, I'm
yeah.
gonna holes in the lats, holes in the biceps. Maybe I'm gonna make one a tank top. I got 3 for myself and then 2 for Anastasia. And I
Hell
was like,
yeah.
yeah. I was like, it's fine. So anytime when she lifts, I would say maybe once a month she wears her always hard shirt. It's pretty sick.
hmm Has
Um,
has anyone stopped y'all yet about it and be like, why is it always hard?
People have approached me while I'm deadlifting and being like, "Oh, are you like, do you like starting strength?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I like them. That's it. I don't tell people. I'm like, oh, I'm a starting
Yeah.
strength coach. Yeah. If I'm at a public gym, I just don't. I do not talk about it. Well, speaking of which, by the way, I was benching yesterday in a public gym.
hmm
The personal trainer in front of me was having a middle-aged woman, maybe she was like 50s or so, doing shovel deadlifts in a lunge stance.
What the
So
fuck is a shovel
she
deadlift?
she had a 25-pound plate on one side, no plates on the other side.
Okay.
So hold it like it was basically like a shovel, like underhand on the heavier side.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then she basically took a normal deadlift stance and then put one of her feet back slightly. So it was like a single leg almost shovel deadlift. And then
hmm
she did like 3 reps, and then she was like, "This really hurts my back. Can we just do normal deadlifts?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's fine, but it's not going to be as athletic." And I was like, "Amazing."
God damn,
This
dude.
is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I just wanted to go high five him. Um, Teo's here. He said he's listening from the treadmill. Good work, buddy. Getting the pounds off. This is a very Chase centric episode. Chase, you had a big weekend, right? What happened?
I did. I had my first actually true Olympic weightlifting meet here in Dallas, Texas, over Saturday. So it's at a place called Hunger in the Wild, which is a really nice gym in Dallas. And man, it was just a local meet, but there were some big name people there.
All right, so take me through this. So you said this is your first Olympic weightlifting meet, right?
hmm
You've done powerlifting meets, past strength lifting meets, things like that before.
Really, just strength lifting meets, not actual powerlifting. Like I haven't been a part of the federation or anything like that.
Okay, gotcha. Right. So this is the first where it's going to be clean and jerk and snatch for everybody,
hmm
and then just kind of take us through the basic flow of the day. So you got there at what 10 in the morning, weighed in.
No, so my session didn't have to actually be there to weigh in until 2. So I got there right at about like 1:31. Showed up,
That's pretty
waited
late.
until
That's nice.
yeah, it wasn't bad, man. So I showed up. It was like one of the first people to get weighed in. I had to be under 109. So I weighed in officially at 108.3, which is like 237 or some shit like that. So I was underweight, but not by a bunch. It was
And how are
perfect
you
weigh in.
feeling?
I was feeling really good. I was starving because I had only ate like 2 eggs and like 2 rice cakes with peanut butter that whole entire morning, and then like a Gatorade. I was sipping it. Yeah.
Okay, and
So,
for reference, that is maybe a tenth of your normal
oh,
breakfast.
dude, that's not even a fucking snack. It's
Yeah.
just that's a tease.
Hmm.
But yeah, after that, I got Whataburger, and man, I pounded a patty melt with some fries, and then
So you did do Whataburger. You were not
fuck yeah, I
kidding.
did. No,
You went way into
I'm not
Whataburger.
fucking around. Yeah,
That's
and
pretty
that
sick.
shit just yeah, I felt amazing afterwards.
So what's the all right? So here we got Ben Bushman here. How's it going, Ben? And we got Jeff, the pal posting from Jeff. That'll stay up there. How's it going, Jeff? All right. So we went to Whataburger, and I asked you. I
Mhm.
was like, can you just immediately digest Whataburger and consume it to make power and weights move? And you were like, yeah, it's not a problem at all. Was that an
Yeah,
issue?
I didn't get bubble gut or anything like that. Like I had to take a shit, but that was just because nerves and stuff like that. And
Amazing.
um, other than that, I was totally fine. So we started on the platform a little bit late. I think the first lift started around like 4:15. We were supposed to start at 4, but not too late. started off with a snatch first. I opened up at 120. What was really cool is like that meet, a bunch of people started opening around the same weight. So typically with an Olympic weightlifting meet, the bar never goes down in terms of load on the bar. So if you are opening up something light, it's kind of just playing a numbers game with people, kind of like a chess match where I can be really bluffing my initial first
Mhm.
call, or you have some people who are just kind of jazzes who just go way too heavy on their first attempt, and they shouldn't have, and they can't change it because they've already done their first attempt and the weight doesn't go down. But
So to be clear, so
um,
you said you started 120, right?
yep, that's
How
correct.
was the warm-up room looking? Were people throwing chalk bowls at each other,
No, man,
yelling?
it's weird. Like I never really believed Rip whenever he says like, "Oh, Olympic weightlifting coaches in the warm up room is just really standoffish." Yeah, it was very standoffish. There was a
Yeah?
few people there that was pretty cool. Like there was some older guys that were competing, and they kind of walk around and be like, "Hey, best of luck, dude." And be like, "Hey, thank you." But like everyone's just kind of like in their own platform, not saying anything. Like they'll kind of like side eye you and stuff like that. They'll kind of just look around. What was really funny is like I didn't know you could lift without a shirt. So I'm back there. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to kind of tuck in my shirt and my singlet, and then I saw everyone else take off their shirt. I'm like, oh, sweet. So I started taking off my shirt, and like you could tell, like no one really
Uh,
there was really defined except for like 3 dudes. And yeah, once like I kind of took off my shirt, everyone's like, what the fuck? Who's this guy?
mhm.
And then yeah, I just did my normal warm up routine, and it's again just kind of like very quiet. Everyone's just looking very suspiciously, and um, there's a few lifters who had handlers or coaches there that were doing something obliviously wrong, but they just were not correcting it. Again, it kind of goes back to what
So,
Rick was
like,
saying
on
about like
their warm-ups, their technique was
yeah,
just all over the
like
place. Okay.
there's a guy, he was a 109er plus, so a super heavyweight that was kind of
Mhm.
adjacent to me, and he was kind of a tall dude, but he kept on hitting where he would typically touch for a clean on his snatch. So he's hitting real low. He's opening up way too early, and the thing is,
Interesting.
it's just popping out in front.
Yeah.
So he opened up at like 130 or 125, missed all attempts, and he bombed out. So it's just like those coaches didn't give him one
Yeah.
fucking cue. I heard one thing, and it was, "Hey, you're leaving the bar out in front." Thanks, jackass. Like you didn't tell this kid how to fucking fix it, and he's been doing this prep for like a month or so. You've worked
Yeah.
with him for how long? It was just
Mhm.
not, you can't dog too much on the kid. He doesn't know any better, but the fucking those guys handling him, man, they're bastards.
And your handler was Josh, right? Josh Wells?
Yep, Josh Wells, and he's been in
Lovely
this.
beard on Josh.
Yeah, man, he's been in the scene.
Yeah.
Fuck, man, 20+ years.
So I believe we had this is your 120, right?
That was 120.
Okay. All right. This is Hunger something the Wild?
Hunger in
Hunger
the
what?
Wild.
Hunger in the Wild, everybody.
Hmm.
Chase is hungry for Whataburger. He's tracking them down in the fields of Texas.
Stocking
Why'd
up
you
on the
only do one
packets.
rep here, Chase? It looks like you could have done so many more reps.
Because it's just my first attempt, and I only have 2
Mm.
more attempts.
Okay. How'd you feel about this one?
Felt pretty good. Going into the meet, I was a little bit beat up, and I was kind of, uh, I was a little bit worried about not hitting the numbers that I want to hit, kind of prescribed and planned. But
Right.
I knew that with 120, I can make this fairly easy, and I did. It was pretty awesome.
Nice.
Felt
So I
good
know
about it.
some people in the warm up room, they'll end up they'll try to hit things that are pretty close actually to their first
Yes,
attempt, if not
yes.
literally right on it. So where was
Hmm.
your last warm up in the warm up room as compared to attempt number one?
I hit about 10 to 15 kilos off. Like I warm up
Okay.
pretty quick. And usually in training, like what I'll do is I'll hit 100, 110, 120. And I think I may have hit 115, or I definitely hit my last one. But I think I may have snuck in 115. But
This is one of the best snatches I've seen from you, just in general.
yeah, what I've kind of learned too is that I've been pulling my knees back a little bit too much, and
Yeah.
um, going into that second pull, my knees will then shoot forward too much, and it pops the bar way too out
Yeah.
in front. So now, like that kind of helps eliminate the loop there. If I just keep my knees more in place, more static there,
Were
and
you
then
focusing on more of a lateral jump on this one about pushing the knees out during the stomp, or what?
No, I wasn't thinking about the knees out. What I told Josh, and he's been kind of working with me, is that just cue me about holding my knees in place. Because
Hmm.
again, what I was saying was just like I'll yank back my shin too much. Now I have the separation with the bar, and I come back with the second pull to then retouch the touch point or the jumping position, and there's a loop, and then I catch it forward and I go run or I miss it.
Right. Yeah, this was wonderful. So yeah, you felt dialed in for the day. The peaking worked, taper worked, right? You felt
Yeah,
you
I
felt
felt
you
really
said you felt
good.
a little fatigued, but things were moving fast.
I felt fatigued just like a tiny bit going into the clean. Just kind of just your motions, kind of the adrenaline was slowly wearing off, but
Right.
this was definitely it felt good.
Did it feel good to be in the singlet again?
It did, man. It really did.
Hmm. You didn't take it off when you got home. It's just
Nah,
still on now
fucking,
under the
I
t-shirt.
slept in
Yeah.
that shit.
Okay. All right. So we got 127 for the second. It was very clean, very pretty.
Hmm.
Everybody loved it. And then I'm going to try to find the third here. That's a clean. Bear with me here, folks. All right, so you went from 127, and I know you said you were just hoping for north of 130. So in the loading decision here, you have 135 on the bar, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So what was the decision-making process? Why not take 130? Why not take 132? Something like that.
Just based off of the bar speed of how 127 moved, and I mean, Josh has a really good eye for this, and I
Hmm.
felt really solid about it. Like, typically, what I usually do with my snatches is I walk forward like this, and
Hmm.
around 120, 125, I typically take a step forward. I
Okay.
didn't do that, and this thing was kind of going far behind to where I was almost missing it behind me. So usually that means I'm doing something correctly, not fucking out, fucking the bar and popping it out in the front. So we were both excited about hitting 135. Josh asked me what my best snatch was, and I told him 135, and he was just like, "All right, we're just gonna go with that again." So this was probably the most clean 135 I've done. The second one was kind of
Yeah.
or the first one rather was a little bit too far forward and kind of
What was the
stumbling
time
around. But
separation between those? So let's say the first time you hit 135 in training. How long ago was that?
about a month, a little over a
Okay.
month.
Lines up. Yep. Gotcha. So now that you've done this, you're looking at it again. When you watch this, do you think maybe 140, something like that, 42 would have moved? Do you think that, let's say if you got a fourth attempt, what would you have taken at?
Probably 140.
140. Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm. And then are you eyeballing any competitions out there in the future?
I am. Right
It's
now,
exciting.
I'm changing my sole focus here with training just to really get these numbers going up.
Hmm.
Um, I'm working with one of Rip's buddies from way back in the day, and he's kind of we're doing something kind of like a Bulgarian method, not totally like it because it's not the same without being in Bulgaria in that time frame. But
Right.
I probably will compete in December again.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some decent improvement there. Double layback is too dangerous. This is confirmed. This is why they took it out. It's because too many lifters were paralyzed from all the laybacking. All right, so we got some cleans next. That's your second attempt. I gotta find the first attempt here. All right.
Oh, the second attempt was dog shit, and you'll see.
No, it was probably amazing, Jace. Don't say these things. I'm sure it was beautiful. Okay, so we got 160 pounds on the bar.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful front rack. You look very red as the plates. Good jerk. All right, so what was the time separation, by the way? So snatches ended, you hit 135, everybody picked you up and walked you around the auditorium.
No, I wish.
What was the separation between last snatch and then starting for cleans?
Probably a good 15, 12 minutes.
Okay.
So
Are
the
you still
guys,
munching fries in between this? Is it Sour
no,
Patch Kids at this
I
point?
just had like a Gatorade with me, so I was just sipping a
Okay.
Gatorade. I didn't really eat after that patty melt and stuff, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, I would say about 15, 12 minutes around there because there was a couple 140, 145 snatches. Some people
Nice.
bombed out. And then the heaviest snatch, I think, was around like 150, 152, somewhere like that.
Was that a super heavy?
No, that was the there's this guy named I forgot his fucking it's Dylan Cooper, guy from Dozer Weightlifting. He was there,
Okay.
another big name in the Olympic scene. Very strong dude, just been at this a long time, and he He was the last to lift, and he's about like a 98er or some shit like that. He's pretty light.
That's pretty cool. Was he one of the guys who was just shredded? Was he one of the very defined guys?
Yeah, he
like
was
you were
pretty
saying?
shredded. I think he could have had a little bit more muscle mass on him, of course, but
Yeah.
he's taller than me and just
Oh,
really,
interesting.
really thin.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Teo brings up a good point here. It is not the same without all the Trin and Debo. Maybe one day it will be.
Mhm.
Clarence, do you watch Clarence Kennedy at all, Chase?
Yeah.
He had a really good video recently on how to spot a fake natty, and it was if someone is generally kind of within. So we know steroids tend to help maybe in like the 15 to 10% range for performance. If someone is in that area and not taking them, it means they're abstaining. They're just like a monk. They're being chased from world records.
Yeah.
Just because they're not willing to take steroids in that case. Oh no. Hey Chase, can you still see me?
Yeah.
Weird.
Cutting out. Why did you freeze, Alex? Well, did we lose Alex? I think we lost Alex. Well, let me reach out to Alex to see if he's alive. So Jeff here in the chat, you haven't been at Olympic lifting long, right, Chase? Numbers are only going to get better in time. Yeah, I've probably spent about 2 years consistently training with the snatch and the clean and jerk. My biggest problem, man, is that my technique is a shit. My rack, for example, whenever Alex comes back, whenever Alex comes back, you'll see like my second attempt, it was just dog shit. The reason why is that my rack, I was able to get my elbows through enough, but the bar crashed on me. It was just kind of a little bit of a grind coming up out of the bottom position of the clean. Elbows dropped a shit ton. So that I've been kind of working on that. And then with the snatch, it's just me not stepping a mile off the platform. So learning just to sit in that bottom position, kind of getting a little bit more flexibility in the ankles and the hips and the knees. That's been really different. But the basis of starting the pull, having the hips up high, the knee position, and then finishing with the jump position, like that's stuff I've kind of learned a lot from just ripping stuff. You alive, Alex?
I'm alive.
Now we don't have your beautiful face.
I know. I had a black eye like all week as well. That's finally coming back. Here we go. Okay.
Nice.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody. I just installed a new driver for my graphics card, and it's crashed like 3 times today.
Nice.
But we were on your second attempt clean and jerk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I pulled that up. Let's give that a watch. How is the dead air?
Oh, it was pretty awkward, man. Not gonna lie.
I'm sure you did a wonderful job. Okay, so we're at 167 now. How much time did you have between attempts at this point?
Probably about 4, maybe 3 minutes.
Okay,
It was
that's
around
pretty
this
short
time.
for you, right?
Yeah, around this time. This is where people are kind of either going a little bit too much with their attempts, or kind of just again gauging how everyone else was going off of it. But as I was telling the chat, really Jeff here, is that you see how like I caught that thing, like I caught it just fucking terribly because this thing, it crashed on me. So I've been dealing a lot with that. Came up, my grip was all fucked up, so I tried to adjusting, and that's whenever I saw like the black dots slowly start creeping in. And yeah, I dropped my elbows on the jerk, and the thing just landed out in the front.
You're like, I've been holding this for too long.
Yeah, I almost dropped it there, and luckily, just me being strong, I was able to save that.
How'd you feel about the pull itself, the pull off the ground?
It was fine. It's just I'm letting this thing crash down on me. I need to meet the bar a little bit higher. So we're kind of just coming up with ways to kind of combat that, and hopefully I found something that works, but we'll see.
This was pretty cool though, just kind of losing it and then just popping it back up with your wrists.
Yeah, dude, I fucked up my
That
my
was the
left hand
hardest
pretty
lift of the
bad.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
hmm And then props to you though for still going for it and not just bailing immediately.
Yeah, I
Did
got a
you think it
bitch
was
out, but
salvageable while it was happening?
I honestly thought I did. But I just after that second re-rack, I knew that I was spending too much time, fucking messing around with the bar placement that
Right.
I couldn't do it. So um, Josh on this last attempt basically just had to cue me like as soon as I breathe, you got to jerk it, and that really helped save my last attempt.
You gotta jerk it, dog.
Got to jerk it.
Gotta jerk it. All right. Let's see if this is this attempts. No, that's
That's the
first.
first.
Let's see. It's a snatch. Is this it? That's the third. Okay. So you
Hmm.
still went up anyways, which again, giant balls. Excellent choice.
I mean, it wasn't bad. It's just
hmm
it's technical stuff. Like it didn't
Yeah.
feel heavy.
Right. So it didn't feel like it was crushing you at all.
No.
Okay.
And
And then
they're
how
like
much time? So you said you had maybe 3 or 4 minutes between first and second. What'd you get here?
about the same.
Okay.
Yeah, on the rack.
Very pretty.
I just I overcompensated and almost lost it behind me.
Yeah,
Like
I
you
see that.
kind of saw like that shift back, but I was able to salvage it.
hmm Did you feel like you did a good job of staying calm? Like, did you have kind of a directive for each rep as you were going into this, or were you just
Oh
thinking, I'm
yeah,
going
I
to clear
was
my mind? And
it was Josh and then one other coach, the dude who owns Hunger in the Wild. His name is Kyle. Those were the only two coaches that I actually heard cues from. Now he didn't cue me, Kyle didn't, but I physically heard and was thinking about cues before walking on the platform.
yep.
During the lift, Josh is yelling at me, and then afterwards, there's nothing you can do after the lift. But that right there was a complete shock to me about like these guys weren't really saying anything unless it was like, hey, get this or let's go or just like a cheerleading motto.
Right. Yeah. I think that's an interesting thing about the Olympic weightlifting world because, like, I've listened to a lot of interviews with very tenured weightlifting coaches, and then it becomes a mentoring thing
Hmm.
much earlier than I think it should be. And I think a lot of them assume that technique is more set in stone than it is. They'll try to
I
like
would
correct
agree.
things with drills over a longer time rather
Yep.
than cueing within the moment.
Yep.
Whereas like I've noticed, like if I can get someone in person, so whenever I kind of go and do camps or trips or things like that, if I have a lifter who's been stubborn about something remotely and in their own brain for months, if I get them in person, you can generally fix those things immediately
Hmm.
or within 10 minutes, even if it's really set in stone. And you've been
Hmm.
lifting for a very long time and cues are still effective for you. So I'm
Yep.
always curious where it's like, why do these guys not, they don't actively cue it? Some of them say it's too fast, right? But it becomes interset instruction at that point where it's like, this rep, you did
Hmm.
this. Let's focus on this for the next
Well,
one.
I've had someone tell me this a long time ago. He was big in weightlifting. Is like now it's you've done this so much, it's become second nature to where you really don't need to cue at that point, which is like it's kind of bullshit because
Do
even on
you?
my
Yeah.
squat, yeah, like on my squat, everyone that I've asked for a while, like my knee issue, like I feel something is going wrong with it. And on the outside, if you are looking at it, you're like, no, this looks totally fine. But deep inside, I can still feel the movement. Something is wrong. And at that point,
hmm
I need another pair of eyes. I can see that. But um, I don't know. It's just there's a little bit of gray area, but the vast majority of it is you're still going to be able to coach an advanced lifter. It doesn't matter who they are. Like they still need cues.
Yeah. I wonder if part of it's that they just haven't been cueing much for these
Hmm.
lifters. So those lifters get worse at implementing them in real time.
Hmm.
You know, G Lock in the chat. How's it going? Friends and pals. Oh, Melchior's here. Our resident wizard, Melchior. I still have no idea where the hell that name is from. Still have absolutely no idea. All right, so you finished 170 here. You have the
Hmm.
banner of starting strength under your name. How did that go? Was anyone like, you guys suck? Did anybody talk to you about that?
No, a few people from the crowd were like, "Oh, this was funny." So after my snatches, this one random motherfucker, like it looks like someone's dad, came back into the warm up room and was like, "Hey, your snatches look pretty good. Like, you need to go up next time." And I'm like, "Yeah, just kind of my first meet here,
That's
just
a good
working on some
idea.
things." But no, he was like, "To fix you walking forward on that 135, you need to deload and do a high hang." with
Okay.
either 70 or 80 kilograms for 4 reps. I'm like, oh,
That's so
okay,
specific.
that
Holy
makes a
shit.
lot of sense.
So he
Yeah.
wants high hang snatches
Yep. Four
with 70
reps.
kilos for
Yep.
fours.
Exactly. And this dude was just like, he's like, man, you have a lot of potential. And then he just kind of like wandered off to other people and was just giving them unsolicited advice. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
That's so
Just
cool.
yeah, a goofball. Just a
Man, that's
goofball.
awesome. I like how there's no technical advice as to what to do during them. It's just
Yeah.
do them.
Yeah, just like you were saying earlier, like
Yeah, exactly.
here is a supplemental exercise to now fix the
Yeah,
main problem instead of cure it.
yeah. And I mean, I get it to some extent because these lifts are so technically demanding that it's hard to do them wrong. So if you can do that subtask at all, it means you're doing it correctly enough. But
Hmm.
some people can just kind of like retard strength through everything, you know?
Yep.
So it's like people can just do a weight wrong and then never realize they're kind of doing it, or at least more inefficiently and correctly.
Hmm.
So you finished 170. You had an excellent day. You said you got fifth, right?
I did overall fifth.
That's awesome, dude. Did you take home anybody's numbers, anything like that? You make some new friends,
Now,
make some new pals?
I think I got a little bit more respect. I think out of I mean, granted, like some of these guys I've seen before at Josh's meet, but as I get more into this, hopefully I can bring a little bit more respect to like starting strength and all that shit.
Right. I'm retarded, not strong. What's wrong? That's actually in a serious topic. Some people think that like neurologically, people with Down syndrome are stronger than not, but normally they just have like terrible motor unit recruitment and have a lot of like neurological problems at the
Mm.
same time. I am not sure. I I'm sure the retard strength myth came from somewhere,
I think it's
right?
of the mice and men, dude. Like where
It's of
Lindy's just
mice and men, but I think
yeah,
it's I don't know.
he's
I
just
would
killing
be
those
interested.
fucking rabbits from petting them. You know?
I would be very interested to see. Who should I ask? I think Nick Rakulia works a lot with the special education
Yeah, he
population.
does.
Could ask him.
Do you think he knows the
That's
mythology about that?
that's the one thing I do want to see. Normally, if someone's like, "Can I have some data or a source on that?" I'm like, "Go do some push-ups. Fuck off." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is one thing I would like to see some information on. Was just to give these guys like some hand dynamometers and just go like crush. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'll give you a lollipop. Crush this. Bam. They break
Yeah.
it. Yeah. All right. Actually, we had some other form checks too. Oh, did you see this, by the way? Carl Ragavan, we'll plug Carl's stuff. The meatball himself, Big Carl, he is going to be in Canada for 2 months in 2023 and he wants to run a lifting camp or several. Is there any ideas in a gym? Going to host this. This is Carl right here. That's Carl's
Hmm.
head. This is a very handsome lifter who seems very tall as well. And he's showing him where his knee is, where his hip crease is.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Carl
Should I laugh?
is recently he's traveling and doing a bunch of camps. So follow Carl Ragnaman Beautiful Strength on Instagram for a lot of the details
Is
and
that his
stuff.
name on Instagram?
Yeah, Beautiful
Sick.
Strength.
That's a good name. All right, we're gonna watch Shangia's video while I pull up some more form checks that we got sent in to us.
So it says form check please. Bar keeps moving over toes, thinking it's getting used to the squat shoes, but other tips appreciated. Well, I don't think it's the squat shoes kind of causing this, but if everyone kind of takes a look at this guy's knees, it's just continuously moving around. So his balance is
Mm-hmm.
all fucked up. Him not stabilizing his knee position and sitting back into his hips, the bar is not going to be balanced over the midfoot. So it's just going to do this weird diagonal slant to where it starts over midfoot, back to the toes, and then vice versa as he stands up. So squat shoes isn't the problem. It's just you not setting your knees.
Yeah, so like we know he knows where midfoot is. If the lifter is incapable of figuring out where midfoot is at the top and they're kind of leaning forward or leaning back, then you know there's kind of a more severe problem with kind of balance. They need to be taught where midfoot is. He
Mhm.
knows where it is. We can see that because he's standing at midfoot top. What's happening is that his stance is too narrow, his knees are punching forward too much, he's not leaning over enough, and then everything's sliding forward, like Chase said. So Shengia needs to like lean over. While leaning over, that's going to push the butt backwards, and then that butt backwards is going to control the position of the knees.
Mhm.
So all that stuff has to work together. Your back needs to be more horizontal from John Carr. Spot anything with bracing. What cue for back angle would you use? Interesting.
Who
Did you
wrote
meet
that?
that guy? Andrew, what's the name? Byron Johnson?
Yeah, yeah. I remember Byron.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's in the
cool
UK.
dude. Voice, very cool. Oh, I think you need to keep your chest up. Presenting your chest to the wall. That is wrong. -2. All right, so we're going to do some user form checks as well. We had a few get sent in from one guy, actually. Do you remember Hardy, Chase?
Yes.
He was the guy who had big calves and worked out in
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah, yeah, yeah.
very
Is this
tiny
him?
garage. This is not him. He's coming up next,
I
actually.
was about to say because he lost some quad strength.
Yeah, and he's also Indian now.
Mhm.
Hardy, what happened? Such a dramatic change. These belts always crack me up. The
Yeah,
ones that are just
they're
giant,
just so they're just like a meme.
huge in the back.
Yeah,
All right, so this is from Reward. I wonder if anybody ever called him Squidward when he was a kid. Squidward.
I don't know, dude. It has a nice view. Look at all those trees.
He does. Very pretty.
It has a nice.
All right, how would you help Reward here, Chase?
It's this establishing the back angle, so it's kind of not really the opposite of what the one guy on Reddit was doing, but his knee position is relatively fine. He's just kind of high barring a low bar squat. So he's just going to lean over more, place his stomach in between his legs, his nipples down into the floor, something of that nature to get his back more horizontal and then stay like that as he comes back up.
I think he may be focusing on shoving the knees out a little bit too much. The toe
Mhm.
angle may be slightly too severe for your Reward.
I think that and the bar may be a little bit,
Smidgen high.
yeah.
Yeah. A lot of so this squat, there's a bunch of stuff that is off by a very small amount, and
Yeah,
it
it
kind of
is.
creates this thing that looks weird, and you're like, it's not egregious. It's not a terrible squat by any means. It's totally serviceable. He could, get this decently strong, but there's a lot of little things to go over here. So
Mhm.
bar position, I think the toe angle needs to come in very slightly, 3-5 degrees, something like that. I think
Mhm.
it's a little bit too much. The knees are coming out too much as well, and then he's doing a high bar. He's high barring a low bar. I think the head position may have more to do this than initially assumed.
I
Anytime
think
I have
as
a
he's
lifter with long hair, I tell them
Mhm.
to point their ponytail at the ceiling. So if they have a ponytail,
Yeah.
I tell them aim your ponytail at the ceiling, keep that there, and that locks the head down every time because you can tell where that thing is. Um, and then change the belt out as well. All the stuff Chase
Yeah,
said.
don't wear a
Yeah.
fucking belt with that.
hmm Yeah. It's crazy because it's like I remember thinking that these were the correct type of lifting belt for quite some time early on when I was very
Mhm.
young. So I was like, oh well, you're protecting your back. That's where your back is. Thus, it needs the most support. I
Mhm.
remember whenever I first started finding all the starting strength stuff, and then Rip it. One of his articles being like, the vertebra of the spine are not going to randomly shoot out of position. It's not the front that needs the most support. If those were designed correctly or more correctly, if you're using kind of that theory, the front is the wider part. And I was like, damn.
Yeah.
It's like fuck. I am
Science,
incredibly stupid.
bitch.
I was like, oh no. And I was like 19. All right, so that's rewards, and then we'll pull up Hardy now. You want to do a squat or a deadlift first, Chase?
Let's go squat.
Ooh, little squats. People from starting strength liking squats? What the fuck?
Crazy.
What? Yeah, so this is the first time, everyone, we've seen Big Calves Hardy in a not home gym before. Ooh, these are
Man.
interesting. All right,
Yep.
so we got a single at what seems to be
Well, that's 150.
370. Yeah,
So 335.
no, more than that.
150 kilograms.
So 315.
That's kilograms.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not paying attention to that.
Is that 3 blues or 1 blue?
It's three
Or 2
blues.
blues?
It's three
Oh, okay.
blues.
Never mind.
Yeah.
That is more than
Okay,
that.
I think that's a
So
resolution thing.
it's not 140, 160, so like 170 ish.
I think it's about 170.
So that's about like 375, somewhere around there.
Oh, this is a good question. All right, any social media or YouTube lifters you recommend? I know you talked about not liking knees over toes guy. I know Alan Thrall was certified SS before the split. Pal, God, Jeff, truly a beautiful public service you provide. Anything? What recommendations do you have, Chase? Is there anybody in the
Mm,
fitness world who you're
man,
like, oh, I
with
always watch
G-Log,
this stuff?
what I tend to do is just kind of look at what the big guys are kind of doing, and then really I just kind of look at everyone, from like Shane Hunt stuff to like um, like Woodson, stuff like that. Just kind of seeing like what they're doing and
What was the
why are
second
they.
name? Dawson?
Yeah,
Dawson?
I think so. I'm
What's
sorry
his
about
last name?
spelling, but I think Woodson.
Woodson?
I don't know for sure if that's right, but yeah,
Dodson Woodson.
that just seeing like those guys, like how they're coming up with ways to fix their programming and stuff like that. But no, Shane Hunt doesn't do starting strength, but they're big fucking strong guys, and
Hmm.
they're kind of following our model because they have to, and that's what I kind of like to see. Now they
Right.
do like their sub maximal stuff. Like, of course, they're not going to look like what we teach, but it's kind of cool to see how people kind of generally come to those conclusions of, oh, my stance is a little bit too narrow. I need to go a little bit wider, or my heels are underneath my
Hmm.
shoulders. How their grip needs to be more secure. All that shit. It's
Yeah.
cool.
That is fun. What I mean, it's everybody likes having their biases confirmed. So it's like the first time I saw Stan Efferding in like that Juji video where he was like, I just
Hmm.
went to a starting strength seminar. I've been doing shit wrong for years. I changed how I'm doing it and I feel way better now. And you're like, yeah, this is
Yeah.
a guy he was the world's strongest bodybuilder. He had 2,300 pound total for like incredibly long time. And
Hmm.
then even him at that level can still be like, oh yeah, I'm changing my opinions.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Uh, I really like Menno Henselman. Good luck spelling that.
Never heard of them.
Um, he's a researcher. He's a research guy. He's a bodybuilding research guy.
Hmm.
Menno is good. Um, one thing that has been a huge help is that he posts uh, a decent amount of articles. They're at a good level of depth. They're not too shallow. They're not too overly long.
Hmm.
The one thing that I would say that actually how I first found out about him was from programming for women around it's called menstrual periodization about
Hmm.
applying volume and intensity over what course of menses for female lifters and how there's like very markedly different responses. Um, yes, Zach Tillander is very draft like Jeff. Um, but yeah, so that's how I found out about Menno's because I was trying to look for some more programming
Hmm.
resources for my female lifters, and then Menno's just been a great resource. And then Renaissance Periodization, Mike Rizertel,
Yeah,
good
he's a
programming
good one.
content.
Yep.
Um, I used to be a fan of kind of like juggernaut strength training. Not a big fan of them anymore. I kind of disagree with I've had I have some now clients from who used to work with them, who I am working with now. I looked at their past programming for sports. They're all athletes. Their
Hmm.
programming was shit. Did not like their programming at all.
Well, who's the
Um,
guy that runs that? Like he's a super
Chad,
advanced. Yeah, Chad Wesley or some shit like that.
Chad Wesley something Smith,
Yeah,
maybe Chad
like
Wesley Smith.
that dude. He's super
Um,
strong, and he's trying to take what the fuck that he did and then mimic and maybe dilute it just a little bit for certain people, which is like you can't. It's like doing the 5-3-1 Windler shit, and
mhm.
then applying it to like your grandmother or someone that's not fucking Jim Windler,
Yeah,
and it doesn't work.
I think Hardy has a mustache now. I think I just saw one frame of mustache. Hopefully, we'll see
Hell
that
yeah.
again. But yeah, I used to in college. I kind of played around with using their resources for programming for myself and for other people in my sports teams. Did not have terribly much success with that. I'm sure there's some amount of that being a me thing as well at that point in my coaching career. I used to like them, don't like them anymore. I would say the programming perspective that I appreciate the most is actually Mike Toucher. Mike Toucher from Reactive Training Systems, RTS. Um, it's about following the athlete response, making minimal changes. You're working on a 1 week cycle. You're figuring out what works and then you're kind of building your training blocks from there. It's kind of a every athlete's programming is a self-contained universe where you're making decisions not based off of what some research paper said, but what that athlete and their response has told you to your programming. It's incredibly similar to the things that are outlined in practical programming, incredibly similar to what we prescribe at starting strength. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, and I know Mike is he's talked to Mike Toucher, or Rip has talked to Mike Toucher before.
Mhm.
I think they've had an interview before as well. But yeah, those are my best top recommendations.
Yeah. I mean,
Hmm.
the dude clearly has a mind for programming, and he has some pretty sound fundamentals. But I mean, it's just knowing when to apply those fundamentals to certain people, right? Because I
Mhm.
mean, it does seem fascinating with like the RPE and all that shit. But again, if you know how to use it properly, it's totally effective for certain people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, as a general for those things, if I have someone who's not doing any other activity, if they're just lifting, if it's like a desk jockey who only lifts, I will only have to touch RPE or something like that if it's after some sort of accident, if they, broke their
Yeah.
finger, broke their toe or something, they tweak their back, they have a flu, anything like that. Um, I only touch that for people who are doing sports. They are doing sports, they're doing PT or something like that. Speaking of fundamentals, we've been talking about fundamentals of programming, shit like that. What's going on with Hardy Squat here, Chase?
Dude, Hardy's
It's been
kind of
on
fucked
air
up here.
for,
Yeah.
he's done 60 reps at this point.
This is probably it's just late set fatigue, and
He's
he's
still
wanting us
going.
to hurry the fuck up.
Yeah.
Doing some dynamic effort lifts,
Hmm.
10, 1,000 singles.
So a million singles.
Yeah.
All right. So how would we fix this?
One, let's get the stance corrected here. So toes out a little bit more. I'd say wider with the stance too.
Hmm.
From there, letting the knees follow where the toes are. So shoving them out and then plopping your torso straight down.
Yeah. So the general advice that I give to people like this, if they have a longer torso, it's rough because you can't get them to go too wide because then they'll be completely
Mm-hmm.
vertical. So you want to point the toes out and you just want to get out of your own way. You know,
Mm-hmm.
get your legs out of the way, sit your torso straight down between your legs. G-lock your squats actually a lot like this as well. Um, some people they can get a little bit dicey on depth if they try to keep their legs under them the whole time. I try to say get your legs to the outside of where you are.
Yep.
Um, and then he's popping. So let's see, right when he's coming up, he shoots a little bit behind the midfoot and then kind of recalibrates back and forth. Do you see that, Chase?
Yeah. So he's just kind of bouncing off his knees there.
Okay, so how would we recommend fixing that sort of bounce off the knees? Is that all the stance or what?
I think the majority of this is going to be solved from the stance because he kind of
Yeah.
gets that initial feedback of, oh, my thighs are kind of jamming into my stomach. This is the end of my range of motion, but he's still lacking depth, a good like 3 inches there.
Agreed. Much agreed. And this again is a limit single, so we're not expecting it to be, a beautiful work of art. So I'm sure at 315 for your working volume sets, whatever you're doing, I'm sure they're totally fine. But you need to carry that precision over to your
I
top
think
set.
I wonder if he's concerned about staying in that little confined area, that rack space.
Yeah, because the
If
safeties are
maybe,
short.
yeah, this is not that wide, so I wonder if he's cautiously putting in his stance
Hmm.
too narrow of that.
All right, so he switched shoes. He's out of the Adidas. He's into some flats. Triceps looking
Mhm.
big. Calves looking big.
Just seems about 190
A
on the
little
bar.
bit forward.
Hmm.
Is this a single as well, Hardy? It is. This was a much easier
Pretty
single.
fucking easy.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. I'm gonna see if I can slow this down. Let's see what are the tools here? Video, is it playback? Playback speed, slower. All right, so Chase, as he's getting set up, when he's
Hmm.
squeezing his chest up, I don't think he's intentionally moving his shins forward, but it's happening anyways, right? So he's
Hmm.
squeezing his chest up, the shins are coming forward, the bar is rolling forward slightly. I'm going to see if you see this and then what your opinions are on it. So squeezing the chest up, as that happens, did you see that slight forward drift?
Yeah, he kind of dropped his butt a little bit, knees bent a little bit more.
Okay, so for people they have this long otter body, they have just a big torso and then short thighs. I've noticed this happens all the time. G-lock again, you're very much like this. You have very similar proportions. For those people, how would you recommend tackling that problem?
I usually fix it through the toe angle.
Okay, so you jam them out, frog stance.
Yep.
Agreed. Okay.
Because I mean, if you think about it, the way his body is set up. He already has short legs or femurs in this instance. His torso is pretty long, so
Mm-hmm.
his hips are going to be already kind of close to the bar. Now,
Yep.
what we need to do is just make it a little bit more efficient by widening out the toe angle externally rotating the femurs, and now he's going to put the load a little bit closer to his hips. Back angle is going to be a little bit more set in that position. It's just this guy's kind of built to pull in that scenario, like kind of like a sumo lifter, but
Yep.
he doesn't because again his grip is outside of his stance, so he's totally fine.
You do good work. Good work, G-Lock. You were born with some extra spine. Chase, if you could have a really long torso or a really short torso, you have to pick one of the two extremes. Which one do you have?
So like short torso being like Lamar Grant type shit, where like I have scoliosis.
Not without any sort of clinical pathology, but just very short or very long. You're on each end of the spectrum. Which one would you rather be cursed with?
I don't know, man. I want to say long torso because it's gonna help me be like a Chinese and fucking squat jerk 1,000 pounds. But
Yeah, I think
I don't know.
if I am still fighting people, is my job short torso. If I could
Yeah.
just be all limb and then just a little circle, that's the goal. If it's lifting weights, I think you want the shortest legs you possibly can have.
Yeah.
Yeah, just want little piston legs. It makes your dong look big because the comparison point, you have like 8-inch femurs. So whatever you're working with is going to look great. See, there you go. There you go, G-Lock.
Yeah, I just want to be
take
like
that home for you. Ben, what's going on with your boy's shoulders? He can't high bar. Have you met someone, Chase, who cannot low bar, high bar, or front squat?
Very few. But what we usually do, Ben, is that you need to get some straps. So like some toe straps or something, just kind of like cut out some old seatbelt, something of that material, and then you can physically make, I guess, not really a cambered bar. I don't know what, like a safety squat bar with these straps, right? So that way he's not putting his shoulder into extension because he can't. I guess he can't in this instance.
I'm trying to find a picture of this. People
Yeah.
normally do this for front squats.
Yeah, like Mike Toucher does it.
Yeah.
For instance. So if you can get some sort of material to where you can basically put that ball behind his back. Yeah, like scroll down, Alex.
Can find it with low bar.
So that
so like
right
this
there.
guy, yeah, he's put some straps over the top. Okay. Yeah, here we go. This is what we're. Oh, that's really funny. Look, Chase, can you see that?
Yeah, nice. Yep.
All right, open image and tab. Okay, so this guy, he posted this on the Starting Strength forums. He's having a hard time getting in low bar. You could theoretically do something like this. Yes. Yeah, he's seen Andy Baker do that. This is in very rare scenarios, right, Chase? This is not commonplace.
The majority of the time that I see people do this are like extremely old, and they have just very fucked up shoulders from them being alive 8,000 years. So
too long.
Yeah.
Too long for their own good. All right, so due guidance 2 days ago, he posted this form check. Our boy's got a little bit of a badonk on him, man. Carrying some junk in the trunk. Bar is too high. We'll start with that. Needs for days. Squat needs to be wider, or stance needs to be wider. More lean. And then he needs to get off this foam.
Just putting the bar a little bit lower is going to make him lean over too.
Yeah, so this goes for John Carr and for Ben Bushman. So remember what we talk about with the criteria. I don't think people harp on the criteria enough for movement selection, what they're actually doing with their time in the gym. We're not arguing for the low bar squat. We are proposing criteria, and the criteria produce the low bar squat. In the situation where things are, oh yeah, we'll get to that, G-Lock. In the situation where you have constraints on the system, right? You have someone who's missing 2 fingers. You have someone who is missing a hand. You have someone who just broke a forearm, whatever. You have constraints on the system now. You can still make all of your decisions exactly the same, right? So let's say if someone can't do any type of bar related squat, they can't even do this with straps, right? They can probably do a goblet squat that you can load, and you can compensate for the lack of load by increasing range of motion, right? You could probably go to a gym and find a hack squat that meets more criteria than that goblet squat does. Or let's say if you don't have the funds to do any of this, you could try to fashion, you can weld some pipes to the bar to make your own safety bar. There's a lot of shit that you can do. This is where kind of the creativity and coaching comes in, is when you do have constraints on the system.
Mhm.
Um, did the OHP episode happen? No, we still have to do the OHP episode. That was planned, and then I think that was actually me. I couldn't get back home in time to do the stream that week. Jeff Riggins, he says, we have a guy at work where his middle and
Oh
ring
man.
finger are half gone. Call him Spider-Man. He looks like he's shooting webs. Nice, Jeff. What do you do for work? You said your work has been fucking you up recently. He said he can't stay consistent for the life of me. Some days murder me and I'm dead. Maybe he's fighting crime with Spider-Man. That's probably why it's so tiring.
Yeah, it's probably.
That's probably it. Yeah. Chase, do you find that coaching tires you out? Is it a tiring job for you?
It just kind of depends on the individual. Like, I mean, you have some, just some wombats that are just like, man, you're taking a lot of just mental drain. But the
Mm-hmm.
vast majority of the time, like I'm dealing with people who I've worked with for a while now, and it's just I'm kind of just repeating certain things, or we're kind of
Yeah.
working on a little bit of new movements every now and then. So it's not bad. I like it whenever it's kind of a full class and you're kind of hustling and bustling around and getting everyone squared away. So
Mm-hmm. New people are always the most tiring. Confirmed.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So what's this gentleman's name? This is Phase Runner. He posted 135 for 5 on the power clean. There's a bunch of stuff to change here, but I would say like the skeleton for what you're doing here, Phase Runner, is pretty good. And the first thing I would start with is by widening your grip out a little bit,
Hmm.
and then trying to keep your knees in the game. Chase, you've been figuring this out as well. How do you keep someone's knees in the correct position after they pass them? So he needs
Uh,
to get his knees back under the bar to actually jump.
mhm.
How would you talk through that?
What I kind of tell people is like put your knees right in that elbow crease and just
Mm-hmm.
keep it there, or just not move your shins at all.
Okay, yeah,
That
just don't
usually
move your
helps.
shins.
Yeah.
Let's watch this again. He's really paying attention to his elbows, which I appreciate.
Hmm.
So for
Yeah,
those of you who
these
are
aren't bad at all.
who are keeping track of time, when he's turning his arm out like this, you can see his weenus. That's a good indicator the lifter is thinking about don't arm pull, don't arm pull.
Hmm. But yeah, he's kind of just developed that loop. So this is kind of like the problem that I have too, where if I yank my knees back a little bit too much, it's just causing a little bit of separation. And I'll meet the bar back with that second pull, and then kind of pops it out. But
Mm-hmm.
this is still
I
wide
think
enough where he
he's
can control this.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, one thing that I really try to express with my lifters whenever they're doing the Olympic lifts is that I want you to have problems catching it because of how high it gets. I don't
Mhm.
want you to think about catching it, right? If the problem is that the bar is going a little bit too high and it's not being controlled at the top, that means it's just too light, and that's totally fine. We can adjust that by putting more weight on the bar. I don't like it when people under pull or people pull so conservatively where they're just kind of focused on a smooth, elegant catch at the top and they're not
Mhm.
generating that force at the bottom. The point of these lifts is to generate as much force as you can at the bottom, right?
Mhm.
If you're trying to snatch it and it leaves your hands and goes 4 feet in the air, great. It just means we need more weight on the bar. It's not going to actually happen, but I don't want you to be fixated on the catch. I want you to be fixated on making as much force as possible at the bottom. Have you run into that before, Chase?
Yeah, we have probably two people here recently that are just like they're very timid about letting the bar hit their
Timid.
shoulders.
That's an excellent work. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they're
what I'm
very
thinking.
timid about hitting their shoulders. But as soon as you do it correctly, you're just like, oh fuck, why did I spend
Yeah,
all this time like slowly eccentrically loading this bar on my shoulders? Just you just snap into it then. Like
snap
that
into
was
it.
I remember I did that for the longest time where I would just gently rest it on
Ugh.
my collarbone. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then everyone's like, quit fucking up your collarbone. And I'm like, well, how do I do this? And then just slowly not death gripping the bar was a good one too.
Yeah, making sure it's a hook grip and a loose hook grip. If I
Hmm.
have a lifter who has the hand size to do it, luckily a lot of my lifters are just bigger guys. They have larger hands in general. I like to have a little bit of space. I don't even like it to be completely tight. If it's completely tight around, you're probably over gripping it.
Hmm.
Loose hook, loose hook. Ooh, what's up, son? 335 single PR.
Nice. That's a very
Nice.
green gym.
It is very green, Jim. There's a lot of green going on. It's eco-friendly, Chase.
Yeah, I guess so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, John Carr, his grip was too narrow. Yeah, we talked about that in the beginning. Jeff, concrete work is great. Very fun stuff. Very fun stuff.
So it just seems like this guy's just initiating it with just leaning over a little bit too much at the start. Just again, hips and knees, same time. And on the way up, do not change the gaze. Keep the eyes buried in place wherever they're looking at, and this will be just fine.
Yeah, I've never found it advantageous to change the head position on the ascent.
No,
Never.
not at all.
Yeah, it's just something that it introduces more movement into the system, more complexity around balancing over midfoot. I do not find it to be helpful. I
Mhm.
can't even kind of steel man that position. I haven't been able to find a good reason for it. Because if we look here, everybody watch the row. So like there's on the side of the plates, it's going to say rogue. They're going to spin backwards. Look at when they
Mhm.
spin backwards in relationship to when he throws his nose up. Right there.
Mhm.
Yeah, hopefully everybody can see that. I'll do one more time. Plate's not moving. Plate's starting to spin. That's because he's tossing his damn head up.
Yep.
Get rid of the spotter. What are they going to do? Bigger breath at the top, head neutral, nitpicky. Your chin, ass straight up. This is an interesting, very specific comment. This is kind of like the advice that guy gave you backstage, Chase. Don't max out until you're in stage 2 of the Texas method. Incredibly
I didn't know there
specific.
was there was specific stages to the Texas method, but
Incredibly
cool.
specific programming advice. No context. That's pretty
Yep.
sick. Oh, he's on the Texas method now. He tests his 1RM once a year. That's actually very conservative. Once a year, everybody. All right, weird soreness in my quads. That's probably something related to that. Tennis elbow protocol. He probably doesn't even play tennis. Oh, let's look at the. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. So Jeff, to go back to your question from a million years ago. Jeff says he has a hard time staying consistent with work. I've worked a lot of manual labor jobs through college, in addition with practice schedules and things like that. Manual labor with training is rough, especially if you have like on the board with your training that you need to go and hit 5 very intense sets, and you've had a gassed day. It's going to be hard. You need to have flexibility in training and kind of have some backup workouts. So like, let's say, for example, you have deadlifts on the board and it's supposed to be 3 really intense sets, but you had a very hard day on the job. What you probably want to do is say, I need to put in a lighter deadlift variation and substitute some back work with maybe some power cleans, maybe some rows, maybe some chin ups. You just need to have other cards to play to compensate for the fact that your life is very variable, right? And I treat this as very similar with my athletes. You have a very hard practice. We got to have other cards to play that aren't just as intense as possible. Because the point is that if you go off schedule, right, then you're losing training volume, you're losing tonnage, you're losing pounds, you're losing all that stuff. And that you just can't let that happen. So even if you just go in and bang out, 50, 60 chin-ups, it's still better than nothing. All right. G-Lock said he's changing jobs soon to work with a bunch of newbies. What are some good beginner goals to get them into lifting? What do you think, Chase?
How did you convince them even to get to lifting? That's I want to know that, G-Lock. But I mean, if they're wanting to lift and they have no idea what barbells are, I would say just the big goals of like a body weight squat at the start, like a half a body weight bench or press, and then a deadlift like a body weight and a half. That's usually good. Like a general schemes too is like a two plate deadlift, a plate squat, a 25 plate press, a bench press, like a pretty close to a plate, like a 115 bench press or so.
Mm-hmm. I like leaderboards. Leaderboards are very helpful.
Yeah, that takes the place of the goal too, like where you're just trying to beat fucking Bob who's on the top end.
Yeah, and then give them incentives. Probably not candy or something like that, nor stickers, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so G-Lock is he's defending our freedom actively right now. He's in the military, so basic cardio fitness base. Yeah, I think I would just try to express it as it is a foundational skill that is the basis for the rest of the athletic activity, where it's like you can do a bunch of, you know, silly tricks if you're sufficiently strong. You can handle more miles, you can handle more rucking, you can handle more weight, you can handle more everything.
Mhm.
Granted, you do these things. Like if Chase did the ACFT, he would probably need 2 or 3 runs to get in shape and a lot of Whataburger afterwards, but he would probably
Mhm.
be able to max out the ACFT in like 3 weeks of prep. You know,
Yep.
you should try that, Chase. That'd be a fun thing for you to do.
No, I don't want to. Fuck
Do
running.
you think you can deadlift 330 on a trap bar?
Like kilos or just pounds?
Pounds. Could you do it?
Oof, I don't know, man. Pretty rough.
Oh man, yeah. Just contextually, it's just so funny to think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the sprint medleys are kind of hard. You may get pretty winded, Chase. I don't know when's the last time you did some sprint medleys.
So how far is the distance for the sprint?
G-Lock, what's the sprint difference offhand? I want to say, in my brain,
Isn't it like a
it's
2 mile run or like
it's
a mile run or
30
something like that?
yards. ACFT events. I just typed in ACFF. Well, hold on. We got to add a T in here, everybody. All right. Oh wait, excuse me, Chase. I'm sorry. It is. Could you deadlift 330 for 3 reps?
Whoa.
Don't get cocky.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 25 meters each way, so 30 yards. That's what I was thinking.
So you said
Chase
25
could
meters each way.
each way. Yeah. Yeah, Jeff, absolutely, man. Reach out for some advice. All right, so you got to do the 3 rep deadlift. Ooh, wait. Someone's narrating what the deadlift is. You get inside the trap bar, squat down.
You just pick the bitch up.
This is what this lady is doing. This fine defender of freedom. Hips as low as possible, knees incredibly forward, hips rise up immediately. Number 2 wasn't bad.
Is
Number
that a
2 was
touch
on the
and go?
toes. You can touch and go. You can T and G these
Oh,
bad boys.
fuck, man.
All right, so you could probably do that, right, Chase?
I think if they allow me to do touch and go, then yeah.
Okay, yeah. If it's full reset, maybe not. All right, so the
Yeah.
next one. This one is hard. I've tried this before. I think my best was 12 meters, if I remember correctly. But you throw a 10-pound medicine ball up and behind you as hard and long as you can. It's more awkward than you think it is, Chase. You got to try this. You got to get Phoebe out in
What the
a
fuck?
soccer field or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is
So the
so what
people who are good
what's
at
the
this just
purpose of
have
this?
really long arms.
Yeah.
If you
These
have long, if you
leverages.
just
Yep. Why
Yep.
the fuck are they making people do this?
Well, I think the point of it is it's like, I mean, presumably a gauge of explosive strength and maybe kind of upper
Yeah, I
back
guess
mobility and
so.
health. If someone's kind of like John McCain levels of arm, they can't use it. You know, if he can't
Mhm.
get his arms past here, how do you think you would do? You got to try this, man. This is actually a pretty good one for you.
I bet it'd be pretty fun.
It's 10 pounds. It's hard. It's harder than you think. All right, we got the hand release push
I
up.
don't know.
All right, you go down. You stay down there for 10 seconds a piece, according to this video. You pick your hands up slightly, and then you put them back down on the ground, and you come back up.
How many are you supposed to do?
A lot.
As many
I
as you
wonder what
can
this.
within a
As
time
many
frame
as
or
you can.
something?
I think you get 2 minutes. You get 2 minutes for this one. How old are you, Chase?
I am 24.
You're 24. Okay. All right. We got to find the scores for this once we're done and see how many you'd have to do. I think you'd have to do a good bit. How many of these bad boys do you think you could do, Chase?
If I have to follow the rules of like 10 seconds while I'm down there, I mean,
No,
I'm
it's not 10
training
seconds. That's just for
to
video
fit.
demonstration. It's just
Yeah.
down, pop your hands up, push.
Oh fuck, dude, I could do a bunch.
You can do a bunch. This is the one I think you may, outside of just the distance run, which of course you could have a heart attack and die on. I don't know about the distance
Hope
run
not.
right now.
Fuck.
Do you think you could do 2 miles for time, Chase? How long would that take you?
What's the time that I have to beat?
How long do you think it would take you now, though?
I'd probably say about 12 minutes.
That is 6 minutes a mile.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Chase, a 6-minute mile is so fast. You are not running a 6-minute mile.
I could run around 13. It'd probably be more.
Are you
like
saying for a 1 mile or 2 miles, Chase?
No, for 2 miles.
Chase,
A 6-minute pace isn't that
this
bad.
is bullshit. This is so the best possible run you can get is 12:30, Chase.
Oh,
That's
fuck.
the best possible. There is no fucking way you are getting under 7.
How much you wanna bet? I fucking ran like a 7-minute mile in junior high.
Yes, but now you weigh 1,000,000 pounds. There's absolutely no way. Absolutely no way, Chase.
God
I
damn it.
will I will
We're gonna have
eat
to do this.
I will eat this shirt if you can run a 6-minute mile. There is no
Alright.
fucking way.
6-minute mile. Here we just 1 mile I can run in 6 minutes?
If you do 1 mile and if you break 6 minutes in a mile, I will cut this out and eat it in front of you on the screen,
Alright.
Chase.
That's the next episode, guys.
Oh yeah. It's the next episode is we're gonna visit Chase in the hospital. He had a heart attack. Oh my
Oh,
god.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'll be fucking dog shit afterwards, but you'll be
there's
eating it
no
first.
way. There's gonna need to be an oxygen tank and ice bath filled with insulin on the other side, half a mile in. So,
Probably.
all right, so the sprint drag carry. You have to sprint, you have to
Mhm.
lay down, you're in a supine position. You have to sprint to the side. This guy has some quads on him. You got to touch the line, sprint back. Dude,
And
this
that's
guy is
25
mogging
years, right?
everybody.
Yeah, he
He's
is.
blasting through these guys. All right, you got to take the sled. You got to drag the sled backwards. I find it very silly. You can't just turn and drag the sled with one hand.
Mm,
You have to go backwards. Drag the sled behind the line, turn it around pretty quickly. It's like I think 90 pounds, 60 pounds, something like that.
dude,
90-pound
that's
sled.
fucking easy.
All right, then you have to shuffle. You have
Mhm.
to shuffle sideways. Both of your tibia and fibia already broken to this point, Chase. There's no way. The lateral stress on your knees destroyed. You have to
Wait, can you
shuffle
wrap your
back.
knees?
Yeah, you're gonna wear knee wraps for this, and then you have to grab 2 kettlebells. Take them one way, take them back. All right. So
Man.
G-Lock said his best run was 12:45 when he is 155 pounds. Now he's 215 and gets around 15 minutes. Yeah, Chase. If you
We'll
would
see,
just be the
dude.
most. You would get the most. You would be the most prodigal athlete in the whole world if you just go tomorrow and bust out some 6-minute miles.
Dude, I bet I can get pretty close to 6 minutes.
What are you defining as pretty close? Could you do a plank, Chase? Do you remember how to plank?
Oh, dude, that's hell. I don't know about that.
I fucking hate these planks so much. All right, the planks. I don't know, 10 minutes, then 2-mile run.
Yeah,
Soldiers are not
easy.
allowed to wear headphones, but because you're not a soldier, we could probably let you wear
I can do
headphones,
it.
Chase.
That's gonna be the key. That's gonna be the make or break from either 6 minutes or 9 minutes.
Oh god. All right, Teo said I finished my best half marathon going 6 minutes a mile, but I probably weighed about 150 pounds. That's a great time, Teo. Absolutely amazing time. John Carr, did Chase marry Phoebe? Did you marry Phoebe, Chase?
I have not.
You have not? All right.
Mm-mm.
Maybe we should do that in Australia when we go to Australia next year, Chase.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could get married in Australia and then become citizens, I think. If you get
I'm
married
down.
there, you'll be an Australian citizen.
Hell yeah.
All right, rest between events is 2 to 5 minutes. Okay, that's an even better question, Chase. Could you do all of those in succession?
Mm,
By the time you get to the run, 12 minutes a mile easily.
man.
That's a big field day for you.
Yeah, that'd be fun. We
Hmm.
have to do it.
I would die. I would die doing these events. I would have to take so many fucking pills to do this. It'd be amazing. All right, we're like an hour and 10 minutes. Any parting shots for anybody, Chase?
Everyone, will just focus on your Olympic lifting. If you're neglecting it, just start it. Just jump into it.
Or grow a mustache as well, everybody.
Mhm.
Grow a mustache. We're getting pretty mustachioed here on the podcast.
Well, I'm actually so this is my attempt at a handlebar mustache for my Halloween costume.
Oh yeah?
Can you guess what I'm going to be?
I don't know. Is it Hulk Hogan?
That is true. I'm going to be
It's Hulk Hogan. Yeah. Now you got to do a sex tape and you have to say the N-word on tape.
No, I have to let my. It's like
Those
his
are the two
best friend,
things.
right? Oh yeah, it's my best friend's wife that I have to fuck.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So go Josh, I don't know, go grab somebody from Texas. Got to do a
Yeah.
sex tape. You got to sue. I think it's TMZ, something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan will be a good costume for you. But all right, everybody, thanks for watching. Send in